Welcome, everyone. My name is Saad Juman. I am co-chair of the HGSB PIC committee, and my other co-chair is here. Sherry, go ahead.
Hi there. Nice to see everybody. Saad, if you want to do the honoring the land.
Yes. Okay, so before we start the meeting, first thing we'll do is we will do our land acknowledgements. Halton, as we know it today, is rich in history and modern traditions of many First Nations and the Métis. From the Anishinaabe to the Attawandaron to the Haudenosaunee and the Métis, these lands surrounding the Great Lakes are steeped in Indigenous history. As we gather today on these treaty lands, we have the responsibility to honor and respect the four directions: land, waters, plants, animals, ancestors that walked before us, and all the wonderful elements of creation that exist. We would like to acknowledge and thank the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation for sharing their traditional territory with us. Thank you. This is our agenda this evening. By way of introduction, I am going to go through our list of PIC committee members. And if you can just simply quickly unmute, spend a few seconds, state your name, the region that you represent, and perhaps the school that you're with, that would be great. So perhaps I can call in your names actually. Andrea.
Hi, it's Andrea. Andrea Chan. I am representing Oakville. I have one kid that's been through the system. He's a second year university, and my second is grade 11 at Abbey Park.
Thank you, Andrea. Next, Bridget.
Sure, I'm Bridget McDermott, representing Halton Hills. I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old at Mackenzie Bennett here in Acton.
Okay, thank you, Bridget. Next, if we can hear from Harish.
Very good evening. My name is Harish Bhaskar. I'm representing Burlington. I've got 2 children, 13 who's in Burlington Central and 10 who's in Downtown Simcoe.
Thank you, Harish. Next, Jennifer.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jennifer Sibbett. I represent Milton Elementary. I have 4 kiddos that go to 3 different schools. I live in Campbellville, so rural. So I've got 1 kid at Brookville. I've got 2 kids at Martin Street doing French immersion, and I have another one in the LD program at Hawthorne.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, Laura.
Hi, my name is Laura Springer, and I am the representative for the secondary schools in Halton Hills. And I also have 3 kids in 3 different schools. So 1 in grade 5 at Pineview, 1 in grade 7 at Stewarttown, and 1 in grade 9 at Georgetown District.
Okay, so an adventurous drop-off schedule.
Yeah. Hopefully they don't miss the bus.
Thank you. Next is Lorianne.
Hi, everyone. Lorianne Smith here. I represent the Milton, and I also have 3 children in 3 different schools, 1 in Sam Sherritt doing an LD program, 1 at AJ MacArthur, and another one in high school at Craig Kielberger. So I wanted to say CK at Craig Kielberger. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we'll have Reem.
Hi, my name is Reem Tantawi. I'm representing secondary schools in Burlington. I have 4 kids who go to Dr. Frank J. Hayden, triplets who are seniors this year, and a 15-year-old in grade 10.
Thank you. Next, I don't think I see him on here. So that was Riza, but Riza Ali Chowdhury represents Elementary Milton, and his kids go to Bruce Trail Public School. And also, is Sarah on the call?
Yes, I am.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm representing Burlington North, and my kids go to Orchard Park Public School, grade 1 and grade 5.
Okay, thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
I'm next. I'm Saw Juman. I represent Elementary Oakville. I have 4 children. 3 of them go to E.J. James Public School in Oakville, and 1 goes to Maple Grove Public School in Oakville. Next, Sherry.
Hi there. I'm Sherry White, obviously one of the co-chairs, but I'm also in Halton Hills. I have one at Acton District School, which is our 7 to 12, our new 7 to 12 elementary and high school. And my son actually goes to Milton District High School in Milton.
Okay, thank you. And we have Zena.
Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Zina Mudaris. I'm representing Oakville Primary School. I have one daughter, 12 years old, grade 7. Thank you.
Okay, great. And members that are non-parent members, but administrative members on the committee as well. We have Diana Bello. I don't think she's on. Okay. Louisa, would you like to say a few words?
Absolutely. Thank you. My name is Louisa Vitello, currently Vice Principal at Elsie McGill Secondary School and also the Virtual School Secondary in Halton. And I'm very excited to be part of this team again this year. Looking forward to changes and hopefully healthy changes that we will not be confronting with COVID. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Next, Shelley Warinsky.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Shelley Warinsky. I am actually the former principal at E.J. James, where I was with Sajaman last year, and I have just been moved to Central Public School in Burlington to the new community down there, which I'm excited to be a part of. And once again, I'm really happy to be a part of this committee this year. And as always, we are here to support you and work alongside you to make positive changes within the Halton District School Board. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And then finally, a few words from each of our trustees. First, we'll go with Trustee Wang, Cindy Wang.
Hi, my name is Cindy Wang. I'm a grade 12 student at Oakville Trafalgar High School, and I'm one of the student trustees for this year.
Thank you, Cindy. Next, Trustee Gray.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Jean Gray, and I'm the trustee for Halton Hills. And like what has already been expressed, we're really excited about this year ahead and the return to things as we once knew them. And so I think the sky's the limit in terms of what we can accomplish this year as a committee leading the PIC reps across the region. So welcome, everybody, and looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Gray. And then we have Trustee Amos.
Hello, everybody. So nice to see so many of you on the call, and welcome to those who haven't been involved before. I've been involved with the Parent Involvement Committee since actually before it was even formed. And so I actually was the chair for the very first 2 years of it when it first started, and I've been involved ever since as a trustee. And it is a great place for you to help give feedback to the board, for us to hear what's going on, and for you to go back to your schools with information about things that are going on. So thank you so much for volunteering from your schools to be part of this, and I really look forward to getting to know some of you better.
Thank
and
you,
I'm from
Trustee
Oakville.
Thank you. And then finally, our superintendent, Eamon Flahat. Amy, would you like to say a few words before we continue?
Before I go, I was wondering if student trustee Ethan Ruggiero is here with us today. Is he here? Ethan, are you in with us?
He will be here. It's just he had something right before, so he's getting here.
Perfect. And I just want to make sure before I say anything that is there anyone on the call that hasn't had an opportunity to say hello to the group because you're a member? Well, I think Ethan just joined us. Ethan,
Yes,
we're just
he's on the
doing
call.
introductions. And go ahead, Ethan.
Hi, hello everyone. My name's Ethan Ruggiero. I'm a grade 12 student at Dr. Frank J. Hayden Secondary School up in North Burlington. I'm also one of the student trustees alongside Sydney Wang, who's hopefully here right now. But I just want to extend my gratitude to the superintendent and to all the parents here tonight. The work that you're doing to support your children and the board is super important. And I can't wait to hopefully being there more often to support your guys' work, but then also inform you guys of some great ways your children can get involved in the HDSB, in the Student Senate, and a whole bunch of opportunities. But I just want to thank you guys for the invitation tonight, and I'll pass it back over to the superintendent.
Thank you very much, Ethan. My name is Superintendent Eamon Flahat. And I have a portfolio of schools, and my schools are in the city of Burlington. And I also have 4 system portfolios. One of them is one of my favorite, of course, is parent and community engagement, which is this belongs to part of this portfolio. The other portfolio I hold for the system is school operations. I also support the portfolio for partnerships, community partnerships with our system. And the 4th portfolio that I'm involved in and I'm part of is the environmental sustainability and, of course, education portfolio. I share that with our facilities superintendent, that portfolio. It's a real pleasure to have everybody here tonight, and I'm so grateful that we had so many volunteers. It was so inspiring to see the level of interest when we sent out messaging to the system to say we have some vacancies in our pick rep committee, and the number of applications that came forward was just overwhelming. We went through every single one. We had a committee. And I just want the people that are here tonight that are part of our group this evening to know that it wasn't just send an email and all of a sudden I'm a volunteer. We actually went through the whole application process, and there were literally hundreds of people that put their name forward. We went through everyone. We had trustees, we had the co-chairs involved in that, myself. Made those recommendations. So thank you very much. And we also want you to know that we are truly grateful for the work that you have been already doing with our system and with the schools, and the interest that you've shown in creating a great environment in our board by building those very important relationships between our parent and guardian community and our schools, because we know how important that is. So thank you very much for that. I'm going to hand that back to our co-chairs to go through our agenda and then start our meeting moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Flahat. Next order of business should be quick. Our last meeting of this committee was on May 26, 2022, before the adjournment of the last school year. And minutes were circulated amongst the committee, and our next order of business is passing these minutes. So if I can have a motion to pass. Okay. Andrea has raised her hand, and sorry, I'm opening up the queue to see the amount of, and Zena has seconded it. Okay, great. So those minutes have been passed. Next on our agenda, I'm excited about all the parts of our agenda today, but this one I'm particularly excited about because of the perspective and the energy that comes with our student trustees. I'm going to hand the floor over to Ethan and Cindy to tell us, well, I won't steal your thunder, but to tell us about some new and exciting things that might be coming perhaps to a screen near all of us.
Thank you so much. So I will start off and then Trustee Ruggiero will continue on. But thank you so much for having us here today. So to reiterate, my name is Cindy Wang and my co-trustee is Ethan Ruggiero, and we are your student trustees for this school year. And so Some of you may be wondering what is a student trustee? What exactly is it that we do? And so to clarify, the HDSB has 2 student trustees elected every year by grade 7 to 12 students, and they represent over 66,000 students and their perspectives at the Board of Trustees. So Trustee Rogero and I both attend Board of Trustee meetings where we represent student voice in a diverse areas and diverse topics. And so part of our work as student trustees is leading Student Senate, which is made up of 1 to 3 students from every elementary and secondary school in the HDSB. So Trustee Rogero and I wanted to come here today to talk to you guys a little bit about the opportunities that Student Senate offers in terms of student engagement, as well as some of the other initiatives we've been working on this year that students can engage in as well. So starting off with Student Senate, the Student Senate meets once a month to advise Trustee Rogero and I on board topics through monthly meetings. These topics have included things like menstrual equity and student mental health, and they're all really relevant and vital topics for students to be talking about and inserting their opinions in. And so the Student Senate also has 5 subcommittees to really hone in on the topics that we're talking about, and they focus on initiatives within these 5 topics. And these are equity and inclusion, mental health and well-being, environmental leadership, Indigenous perspectives and awareness, and learning and achievement. And so I really want to share with you guys a little bit of the work that Student Senate has done in the past through these subcommittees. We've advocated for free menstrual products to be placed in schools, which is why we have them right now. We also host HYLS every year, which is a leadership conference and a great opportunity for elementary students within the HDSB. And there are so much other things that we've worked on through Senate, some of which I'll be sharing with you guys later. But these subcommittees, once again, they focus on initiatives within these areas, and they are not exclusive to Student Senate, which is the great part, because students outside of Student Senate are able to join these subcommittees. And this year, we hope to have the opportunity be out to students by December. And so let your students know that they can join subcommittees and to stay updated through our Student Senate Instagram and our website. This year, Trustee Rogero and I have also launched the Student Equity Committee, which is separate from Senate, which gives students the ability to discuss equity-related topics and solutions at the board level. And so we hope to launch applications for this committee to intermediate and secondary students in the second semester of this school year. So once again, this is separate from Student Senate. It's more board level, but students are once again able to be part of it. And lastly, Trustee Rogero and I, earlier this year, created a motion for a mental health and well-being leadership task force that will give students the opportunity to provide recommendations to the HDSB's mental health strategy. Once again, this is separate from Senate. It's more board level and focusing on board strategy, but we have passed this motion through Senate, and we hope to pass it at the board table later this year and to launch this committee next year to all HDSB students. And so that is another great opportunity that students are able to engage in. And so as Trustee Rogero and I continue our work throughout our term, you can find any new initiatives or updates on our Instagram pages. Mine is cindy.hdsb and Ethan's is, or Trustee Rogero's is Ethan Rogero _HDSB. Or you can find more information about Student Senate specific things on our Student Senate website. And so I'll pass it to Trustee Rogero to talk about why exactly we are here today.
Well, thank you, Trustee Wang. That was a great explanation of some of the work that we're doing to support your children and the students of the board. But really, what is the connection between the student trustees and the PIC committee? And so, well, over the past few weeks, Trustee Wang and I have been meeting with Superintendent Flahat on a brilliant project to really engage parents in a new way. And that's going to be the Parent Involvement Committee Talk Show. And so this is initiatives that seeks to engage parents on a wide array of topics that are important to their children through a Q&A style process that will feature staff, students, parents, of course, and local guest speakers to share their insight on a wide array of topics. So we'll be talking about a wide array of things, such as it could be mental health and well-being and support systems within our board and the community that you can access as a parent, or maybe that's equity and figuring out how to tackle some of the big equity issues that your children are facing. Or maybe that's post-secondary pathways. We're going to potentially maybe bring someone in at the university level or who's someone studying abroad, and you want your child to maybe know and learn more about how did they end up at Harvard University, or how do they end up at this really great place. there's so many opportunities. We're looking to engage parents in the board, and this is one of the great ways we're looking to parents to make sure that they're aware that there's so many things that you can do to stay engaged with your children's school life and engage with the board. So it's going to be a really great opportunity. So we're going to be talking about things that matter to people who care, and that was the tentative name put together by the superintendent. And we're super excited to be launching this and to be working with actual board resources. So we're going to be working with students at MMR and the technology teacher there, Mr. Lee, and we're going to create this talk show and really bring it to life. So it's something that's really nice because we're going to be working with students. Students are going to be editing it, filming it, putting together, and we're going to have parents. So we look forward to having you guys come on, hopefully come on the show and share your insight to some of our guest speakers in the community, and really bring this, this initiative to light and figure out how we can engage parents across our system to make sure that, if you're a parent living up in Halton Hills or if you're a parent living down in Oakville, you can have access to so much great resources and knowledge for your child and to connect with the school board. So although this project is in its infancy, Trustee Wang and I look forward to engaging with parents and supporting the work that you guys are doing on a daily basis. And we can't wait to hopefully, being on your screen one meeting or one day and engaging you all in some of the great work that our system's doing and how you can use us as students as a way to help, your journey as a parent. So yeah, that was just a high level overview of our idea.
Thank you. Thank you, Trustee Ruggiero and Trustee Wang. Great initiative. Super excited to see it come to life. Next on our agenda is just a couple of slides on what we'd like to call PIC 101, because there's going to be some specific school-based level PIC events and resources coming up, which is not really in line with tonight. But I think there is some confusion, even for those watching the live stream, as to what is a parent involvement committee, what is a PIC rep. So we're just going to speak to that very, very briefly in this part of the agenda. So on the slide here, you can see, what really is a PIC committee, a parent involvement committee. So a parent involvement committee is essentially an advisory body to school boards. A PIC is a formal structure and a key vehicle at the board level that enhances parent involvement and supports student achievement and well-being. We also involve school-based PIC reps. So those are all the PIC, 1 or 2 reps, depending on the school. And there will be upcoming opportunities to be involved in the annual conference, which, fingers crossed, it'll be in person again sometime in the spring, as well as school-based PIC-specific sessions. We go to the next slide. So the next slide is engagement versus involvement. And, I'll probably take 30 seconds. When I saw the slide and we came up with the slide, I thought of a personal story that really, in my life, it hit home. So I have 4 children. And when they were very young, because of the job that I did and the business that I ran, I had to travel a lot. So my wife and I ended up, I guess you can call it homeschooling or world schooling our kids, where they weren't in school. We were their teachers for a few years. And wherever I happened to travel in the world, they would come along and I would be their teacher. And we were super engaged with seeing what their needs were, seeing what their interests were, and everything else. And then when we finally got back to the Greater Toronto area and settled and stopped traveling so much, they went to school. And part of me thought, oh no, I wonder if I can help, craft their education and craft their future and be there for them in the same way. And my best friend, who is a PhD in education and is also a teacher, a teaching professional, he gave me the best advice. He said, hey, it doesn't matter if they're in this school or that school or world school. He said, the biggest thing is you need to be engaged with them side by side, and you just need to be curious about their educational experience and just be there in the background for them and engaged. And I think this slide speaks beautifully to that. It says students are more likely to succeed when their parents are engaged in their learning. And engaged here means being side by side, doing with your children or students, not doing to and telling them what to do. So the overall PIC umbrella is a great way to be able to do that. All right, we can move to the next slide. We put the slide in here. I won't read it all, but I'll sum it up. My co-chair Sherry and I, since the school year began, have been receiving, and I'm sure Superintendent Flahat as well, many emails asking many questions about many things, not just PIC related questions. It may be fundraising, it may be school council, it may be many other topics. And there are going to be some very specific sessions coming up, which are great. You know, for example, there's one coming up around fundraising for school councils. But I think there are other topics that perhaps the various schools and various school councils may be dealing with, that there may be an opportunity this year for us to share best practices. So I encourage you, and the last slide of today will have both my co-chair Sherry and my email address. If you have ideas in terms of topics and best practices that you would like to share, please email us, and then we'll do our best to try to direct you to an existing committee, or perhaps bring the idea to Superintendent Flahat, and perhaps there's another forum that we might be able to create. We can go to the next slide. Next, I'm going to hand the floor over to my co-chair Sherry, and she will be talking about available committee positions and the various subcommittees and committees that exist under PIC.
Thank you, Saad. As you know, the school board does have a variety of different committees that the staff, the superintendents, the trustees are all involved with. And there's normally parent involvement on some of these committees as well. So we do look to our PIC committees to have people volunteer to be on some of these subcommittees. Now, obviously, there is our PIC conference committee, and that in itself might end up having some subcommittees under that, but we do want to be able to have volunteers come together so we can really start planning this year's conference. I know we've missed it for the last couple of years, but we do want to be able to bring all of the parents together, have that opportunity to for engagement, education, and being able to bring. I mean, Halton is not only a very large board, but we are very diverse, not only in our area and geography, and it's really great to be able to bring the parents together at a large conference. So we are looking for volunteers for the PIC conference committee. The board has the Inclusive Education Priorities and Engagement Branch Committee. The Ontario, all of the schools do have PIC, or some call it PIP, but there are different committees. There is the Ontario-wide PIC Connection Committee. Our school board, the Calendar Committee, also requests parent engagement. The Equity and Inclusion Education Steering Committee. Superintendent Flatt mentioned about the environmental management team. And of course, there's our what the school PIC reps are. Usually, oh, Andrew just put a question. Sorry, my eye went to the question on the screen. So do we know the days and times when the meetings are? And no, we haven't. I don't have a list, unfortunately, of when the days and times are. And yes, some of the meetings are during the day. They're not necessarily evening meetings. Zena, you have a question?
Just hi. I just want to add to Andrea's question and comment to you, because before, like a few years ago, I was involved in all these committee before we put it in the slide. So I'll just give you my experience for that, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So for the PIC conference, we know everyone it is once per year. Usually the last 2 years, because of the pandemic, it was not that case, but hopefully we return back to the normal as we wish, and it will be once per year. The IEPEP, just keep in mind that at least will be 4 meetings per year. And once you attend one and you want to volunteer in that committee, we hope, all of us, that the person who choose that to continue all over the year, because once you involve there, you will be more understanding what's going on from the beginning of the year until the year after. For the Ontario PIC Connection, actually, this is in the beginning, it was started as a Facebook group. And then once from the Facebook group, we as a PIC committee at that time, we decided to make meetings. So it used to be once per month, but then after that, they decide to do it 4 times per year. And then they said November and April and June before the end of the year. So this is what they settle at the end. And they usually do it a month or 3 weeks after the ministry, like the ministry meeting that's usually done. So they try to do it like 3 weeks to 1 month after, so that they can touch base about what's going on in the ministry level. Regarding the HDSP calendar committee, it's once per year, and I think it will be soon, if I'm not mistaken. Because usually they do the calendar committee and they will take some advice from the parent point of view for the next year. So if it will happen now, it will be for the school year 2023-2024. So the EI Steering Advisory Committee, it is used to be every 2 months. But nowadays, I don't know, because I didn't engage during the pandemic time. So I was not involved in that committee during that time. So I don't know nowadays the schedule. Regarding the environmental management team, I am now with Mr. Falahat. We are involved in that. So whoever will be volunteer there, you can take over from me, because the last year there was nobody to be involved in that team. And if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Falahat, it is the 3rd Wednesday at 4 p.m. or something like this, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so this is just in general. Hopefully it will help out. Thank you.
Yeah, just to clarify, just the environmental management team has a brand new name now. It's called the Environmental Leadership and Sustainability, and they do meet on. They typically meet on Tuesdays, and I think it's every third Tuesday of the month. And I think that or second or third Tuesday of the month. We'll get that information to people. And somebody messaged there, sorry if I'm jumping in here, somebody messaged earlier to say, can we get a description on these? I believe there was a form that was sent out last year for people to sign up if they were interested, and it did have some information, and we'll get those out to you.
Yeah, I think there's just kind of moving along in the agenda here. I think there's a good opportunity to send information out about these various committees, the updated names, the proposed meeting dates, and the open positions. So we'll get to that as homework, and try to get that out to everyone as well.
And also, I mean, obviously the pandemic had an impact, but the board did welcome many new superintendents for this year that have obviously, taken over their roles. So I know that some of these committees as well have new leadership that are getting, used to their roles as well. So we'll figure out if the days and times are still going to be consistent. But many of the board meetings are during the day. And Superintendent Flatt, can you mention, has the board gone back to doing in person, or are they still doing Zoom meetings or Google Meets?
Sorry, can you clarify what you mean by meetings? Which meetings?
Well, with some of these, the advisory committee meetings, are they done in person at the board, or are there still opportunity for there to be Zoom meetings?
Right now, they're all the meetings, external meetings. Most of them are happening right now virtually. So there'll be Google invites to whoever. So that, for example, the environmental leadership sustainability team, we meet virtually. We haven't gone to an in-person meeting. I know that at some point in time they may want to try one, maybe a celebratory piece towards the end of the year. Certainly there could be some opportunities for that, but we're trying to ensure there's a lot of engagement. It seems when parents have an opportunity to not have that travel time to be in person, and so more people tend to volunteer and be part of. And what we saw is people have to travel from Halton Hills or Milton to a meeting for an hour, and then to come to an hour meeting, it just didn't make sense for some of the families. So we're trying to be as flexible as possible.
Great.
Okay, I think we can keep the agenda moving on to the next item. So if we go to the next slide, we're going to discuss future meeting dates. Not committee meeting, just pick committee meeting dates. So these are not set in stone, but this is proposed right now, and there'll be communication sent out around it. So February 9th is a proposed date for the second pick committee meeting live streamed, such as this one. And then on April 20th or 27th would be the third pick committee live stream meeting. And then the final one, the fourth one of the year, there are usually 4 of these, would be potentially on May 25th. And then there are 2 school-based pick representative sessions. Tentatively, one coming up soon on November 17th of this month. And then the second meeting is still to be announced. And there's a great opportunity actually coming up in terms of financial training for parent school council chairs, co-chairs, and treasurers. I can honestly say the majority of messages that I receive is around fundraising, what's allowed, what's not allowed, what can you do, how do I create a budget plan with my principal, all of these questions. And I do believe on November 28th at 7 p.m. there's a virtual presentation by Carrie Salimi, who's the manager of accounting of school financial services. So most of those questions will be answered. And if you join, I'm sure she'll be able to answer any of your other questions pertaining to this particular topic. And then finally, in the spring, date is still to be announced and location is still to be announced, but our large PIC conference, which some of you may be familiar with and some of you may be new to, will be returning. And that one, as of now, we're hoping it will be in person there. All right, we can go to the next item. And I just want to call on any of our trustees. I believe we have Trustee Gray and Trustee Amos. If there are any information or updates you would like to share in this meeting.
Yes, hi, good evening. Trustee Amos and I have a few items that we'd like to share. And Kelly, if it's all right with you, I'll start and then you can finish it up. We, as you would know, have just come through municipal elections across Ontario, and in the Halton District School Board, we were fortunate enough to have a robust number of candidates running in the election, which was really, really exciting. We found ourselves with 4 trustees that decided not to run again, and I just had the names of the new trustees coming aboard here. I'll get my hands on that just in a minute. The paper has been switched here. But yeah, we're excited. And these new trustees will start in about 2 weeks from now. We have one last meeting coming up, which is next Wednesday. We did meet last night. We've been having to pull a lot of meetings in order to complete some work that this board and slate of trustees had initiated during their tenure. They wanted to see things through, and so it's caused a couple of additional meetings, but we're very, very happy with where we sit. And we know that in short order, we will be doing a series of onboarding professional development activities with the new trustees that will be coming aboard. I'm going to let Trustee Amos speak while I just get that list of new people that I'd like to welcome. Kelly?
Thanks, Jean. So one of the things that we just approved was a long-term accommodation plan. We had asked for feedback from the community, and we did receive quite a bit of feedback from across Halton. So thank you so much to all of you who did provide that feedback. And we also heard the feedback that the way that the long-term or the LTAP is formatted now is much easier to read, and people liked it much better than it had been in the past. So thank you for that. That was just approved at our last meeting. And the other thing I just wanted to share is we know that there is a labor situation currently going on, as I'm sure you are well aware. And I wanted to let everyone know our schools are open tomorrow, because we didn't want any confusion, because the Halton Catholic District School Board has said their schools were closed, but ours are open. And to please watch for messages from the school board, because if things change, you will be messaged at home through your normal means if anything changes for you or your students. So just wanted to let you know about that. Back to you, Jean.
Thank you very much. So coming aboard in Burlington Wards 3 and 6, replacing Andrea Grabentz, is Xin Yi Zhang. In Oakville, Wards 1 and 2, replacing Tracy L. Harrison, is Carol Baxter. Coming to Milton, Wards 3 and 4, replacing Heather Jarretts, is Naveed Ahmed. And finally, down in Burlington, Wards 1 and 2, replacing Leah Reynolds, is Matthew Diodati. And we, as a group of trustees, look forward to participating in the onboarding activities to get these 4 new trustees up and running as quickly as possible. So congratulations to all 4 of those individuals. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Gray and Trustee Amos, for that update. Very important updates. And thank you for the update and the reminder about labor situation. As a parent, that's very helpful. Next, I'm going to give it over to Superintendent Flahat for his comments and updates as well.
Thank you so much, Saad. And Trustee Gray and Trustee Amos, thank you very much for the report, and congratulations to both of you. We are so glad that you're also both back, because you have this historical piece for us, being part of PIC for so long, and we do appreciate you always being so involved with this work. The topics that we talked about tonight, we talked about committees, we talked about the conference. Very brief overviews, and I think that one of the things that I certainly would like to talk a little bit about is the upcoming conference. The conference, when we last met, it was decided that because of the last few years of the pandemic, we hadn't had an opportunity to create getting people together, and so in order for the committee to get the new team together, to start planning, we need this committee here, but we also need parents that are working in schools, that are volunteering, whether it's school councils, but hopefully a lot of our PIC school-based reps will step up, because we'll talk to them when we get together on the 17th. We'll talk to them about joining the committee. And so the idea of people joining the committee will be to help plan what that day looks like. What is the theme for our conference this year? The timing, we talked about the spring. The hope is that we're doing it when the weather is great so that parents can travel. We're looking tentatively at a site right now. We have an incredibly beautiful brand new high school, Elsie McGill in Milton. And Milton is a pretty decent location. I see Louisa smiling away. That's her school. And so we're pretty excited that they were okay when we requested, is it possible to hold the conference at LC McGill? It's typically, for those of you who are new, it's typically held on a Saturday, full day kind of event where we have a fantastic speaker to launch the day. We'll have some greetings from our board, and of course from our staff, from our senior team, and of course there will be workshops for parents, and the workshops would be relevant to the needs of the parents. So if there's an opportunity for you to be involved, we hope that you really get involved as the advisory committee to say, here's what we think we want to do. And I know that some of you have some questions. I see that messages coming by. Happy to answer some of those questions for you in a couple of minutes, but also there's some questions for our trustees, and I think we want to make sure we leave enough time for our trustees to answer some of the questions that people are putting up on our chat here. So that's the first piece that I wanted to talk about, the conference itself and what that might look like. I think it's going to be super exciting. I think we're going to get a lot of interest for this conference. We're going to get people signing up and coming to our conference because people haven't been together for a very long time. And I think parents are really eager to come and interact. It's not just the topics, but it's also the people and being able to connect together. The other thing I wanted to talk a little bit about was the pro grant. So there's going to be some more information, of course, when we have the PIC reps meeting, but the pro grant looks a little different this year. The ministry has decided that, well, it's always very onerous on the part of the school board, on the part of schools, this whole big, huge application process and timing. So what they've done this year, a little bit different. We're still waiting for more information, so I don't have the full details for you, but I do know there'll be, the bit more flexibility with the funds. There won't be as much available because last year we offered $750, but we didn't get that much funding this year. So what they did is they offered enough for approximately $500 of pro grant per school, but that includes the money that is required for the conference in order to have the conference costs included in that, and some special projects. So the funds that were allocated to us were approximately $16,000 less than we had last year. But the funds that we had last year, every year we typically have so many schools that don't use up their funds and they go back to the ministry, probably not far. And so this year it might not be an onerous process where we'll be able to give the money to schools to use on special type of projects, and we'll give them some direction as to what those projects could look like. Work that they can engage in at their schools, but they'll still have to report what they use the money for, but there might not be an onerous task of applications and whatnot. So we'll work with the ministry to get some more details on that. There is a meeting coming up and we'll be able to get some more information on that. But schools are the $500 that each school council typically gets every year. That'll still go out, and we're in the process of depositing that money to school councils so they can start using that. And there will likely be an additional from the pro grant, something around $300 for every school, not just the schools that apply or whatnot. So we're looking at finding a way to engage with that. It might look a little different than that, but that's typically what might be out there. But the $500 people can count on coming. The program money, we're not sure how that will look like just yet, but I wanted to make sure that you're aware that it's no longer that in the same application process with the ministry, and the monies will just be given to our system and our board, and we have to use them based on their direction. And so we'd like as many schools involved as possible. So the reporting and all that onerous stuff will look a lot different, hopefully a lot simpler for families. Any questions on that before I move to my next item? Great. Now, I mentioned that we have an information session coming up earlier. The 17th is a tentative date. We'll firm that up very shortly. Last year, people said, why are we waiting until December to have, last year was in mid-December where we had a orientation session for the PIC reps. And then we went all the way in January 20. That's just been what's happened every year in the past when we did the information sessions. But we've had so many questions. So we've moved everything back. We booked it earlier. So the orientation will likely happen on the 17th for all the PIC school reps. And again, this would be it would be a meeting where it's it's not a live stream. It is only for people that register from the schools, and we will do an orientation session with them on what the role of PIC rep is, how to engage with your school community, and talk about various items and questions that they may have and support them. So the PIC school reps will be invited on the 17th to engage in that orientation session. And then there is the November 28th, which Saad mentioned earlier. As you can see, it's being done a lot sooner so that school councils can get their questions answered really early and they can plan and do what they need to do. By then, we will have all the details of the pro grant, and Carrie will be able to move that information forward for everybody that day. You're, of course, all invited to be at that meeting for the orientation session and for the financial training. You're all invited. It's not a mandatory session for the PIC steering committee. As Saad mentioned, the PIC steering committee has 4 meetings that are live streamed that we're asking all of you to attend. And those dates were given. And then these other, there's some steering committees that we're hoping people will join on, as mentioned earlier. And then these meetings with the PIC reps and the financial training, those are, of course, at your availability and your schedule. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Saad, I'm going to hand that back to you. I think there were some questions that were for the trustees. Are you okay, Trustee Gray and Trustee Amos, taking a couple of questions?
Absolutely.
Okay. Did you want me to, is it helpful if I read it out or did you want to look at the chat?
Oh, sure. Go ahead, please.
Okay. So first question is, I'm curious as to what the plan is. I'm reading the question, by the way. I'm curious as to what the plan is for cleaning the schools, given the announced walkout tomorrow that may extend into tomorrow.
Okay. So tomorrow, as you know, all schools are open. There is a different situation that has been described to the trustees that exists between elementary and secondary school, contract cleaners that come in at night. And so that is how a large part of the school is cleaned and prepped for the next day. At the elementary level, however, it would be very much the QP staff that would be cleaning the schools. And so the provision or the plan to move forward is that non-contract Halton District School Board staff will be assigned the work to clean the schools as they are able to. You may recall that a memo that went out earlier this week had the elementary schools being open every other day because it would take some time during the day to get it cleaned for the next day. So we are not in that position right now because at this point we are only aware of work stoppage at this point for Friday. It hasn't been confirmed that it goes beyond that. So we're all set for Friday, and it's a very, I think it was so well worded in one of the memos that came out this week. This is a very fluid and ever-changing situation. And as new information becomes available, things change. But at this point, that is the plan going forward. Thank you.
Okay, great. Next question, Andrea has a question. So you can go ahead and ask it.
Okay, thanks. You hadn't mentioned this, but I recently read an article about naming schools, and you have been having meetings about whether or not to change naming schools to names that were not named after people. And I'm just wondering what the decision was to keep naming them after people and why we're still doing that.
Okay, so there was a lot of discussion around this whole piece, and the board was pretty much split on whether to name schools after people or not. It was because the reasoning why too is because they feel there are a lot of deserving people who are out there that are representative of some of the students that are in the system that currently may not be recognized as names that are on schools, as one example. But there's also the other side of it where there was concerns about being named after people for all the other reasons that everybody has been concerned about. So the reason it got passed is because there were a lot of changes made in the policy and procedure that we did want to pass. And we couldn't, there was a majority vote to still support naming schools after people at this point, but with the proviso that we will probably have to relook at it in the next term again. And just because that proviso is still in the policy and procedure doesn't mean schools will be named after people, because the trustees at the table are ultimately the ones who will be picking the names. So if we don't want the school named after a person, we're going to have to make sure that there are names that are there that are representative of the community and may not be names of people. So just because it's in the policy and procedure doesn't mean that schools are going to be named after people. But to eliminate it totally means that be named after people, which is, I mean, so just because it's there doesn't mean that it's automatically going to be after a person. Does that help?
Yeah, I was just wondering the reason why we're continuing to do it, but that does help because it does make sense. It's just that the vetting process has to be a certain way. I understand that. But yeah, I just read the article. I thought there's no reason behind why you made the decision in the article. So I was trying to figure out why that is.
I can assure you it was hotly debated and a very big split. And I just want to bring to everyone's attention that there are school names can be named after history, the geography, the local environment. It can honor Indigenous communities, language, and culture. And then also on the list is the potential to name it after a person. So as Kelly has said, it's not necessarily a done deal that a person's name will be on a school. And I think it's important for us to keep an open mind and, certainly solicit from the community all kinds of names that could be associated with the school. The last school to be named the last two schools to be named, one was Elsie McGill, I guess, and the next one after that was Rattlesnake. No, is there one in between there, Kelly?
There was Escarpment View and Dr. David R. Williams.
Yeah, I was just talking about the very last two.
I thought those were the last two, but I may be wrong.
Yeah, I think Elsie came and then it was Rattlesnake up in Milton. But anyway, it's all good. The trustees have a good policy going forward, and we're looking forward to seeing the director's operating procedure for that. Thank you.
And the other piece of it is maybe we're going to have to do some more education of the communities when we're asking for names, to ask for names other than just after people, so that they understand we're trying to get names that are representative of our communities, but it doesn't mean it has to be a person's name.
Thank you for that. Next two questions. The first one is, can you please clarify what PIC school-based sessions are? So I think that's in reference to the two that are coming up in November 17th and the other one.
My pleasure. So the school-based PIC reps, the idea is that on school council, things happen in terms of engagement, projects, fundraising initiatives, and sometimes parents and community have questions. And the idea of the PIC rep at the school level hopefully will engage by taking a little bit of time to view some of these PIC meetings that are online right now. We're live online. Take that information back. There's an opportunity to ask questions because we have an actual question button on there that people could submit questions and bring them forward to us. I keep monitoring that right now. There are people online, but we don't have any questions at this time. People are listening. And then, of course, take that information back to the committee, the school councils. So the idea that rather than every individual at the school reaching out at different times, the PIC rep would engage with the board steering committee. This particular committee here, we are the steering committee. The PIC reps are local to the school, and they take information back. Now we have these 2 sessions for them we are actually working with them online, engaging with them in conversation. It's not live, it's not broadcast to the public, but we're engaging with them, so it's interactive. So one of them is an orientation session where we'll bring some staff, some people to give them information and answer some of their questions that they can take back, let them know what's happening in our system. And then the other one will probably more follow-ups around, what the conference is looking like. How do we make sure? How do we communicate? How do we promote things like the conference and some of the great work that's going on in our system? They take that back to the schools and they continue to share that information. So that's the whole idea of the role of the way we see it. There's obviously much more than that, and the PIC school-based rep is involved in the school council, so they're engaged in all sorts of work at that school level. And one of their responsibilities is to be our contact. That's really the easiest way to describe it. I hope that answers your question, Reem.
Okay, and then I think before I move into the last question, I just want to acknowledge there were a series of questions asked earlier in the meeting around finding out all of the information around the subcommittees, and we will be sending information out around that. So final question that we have here is as follows. For those of us who are new to the steering committee, where can we find out more about our role and expectations specifically? Is it predominantly to contribute to a subcommittee?
Well, thank you. You know what? I could lean a little bit on Zaina and Andrea. They were co-chairs for many years. And so the members of this committee are asking what are their roles and what does that look like for them? And I would be really grateful. I'm happy to also engage in that conversation. But if you could, Andrea and Zaina, if you could share a little bit what your thoughts are, that would be great.
Yeah, I can speak to a little bit about that, and then maybe Zina can come in. Subcommittees are somewhat new for this term and this year. The role of the steering committee was always to talk to PIC reps and to put on our PIC conference, which, if you're new to HDSB, was always an information session for parents that lasted a day. And we would have breakout rooms. We'd have a key rooms where parents who'd like to learn more about certain things that are happening in schools, for instance, reading strategies and math strategies that are new to the board, anything about any special education. We'd have tables set up for community tables set up so that parents can see what's around us in that community, like food for thought, or even stuff about the iSTEM program with HDSB. So that was our main goal, was to put on that PIC conference as part of this PIC steering committee. The chairs would usually go to any of those other meetings to break up that role. But that was predominantly, it was more about putting on this PIC conference for parents of the community. And our job was more of being that liaison between the schools and the board. Zina?
Thank you, Andrea. It was very clear from your end. Plus, what Andrea did is I will just add something else, which is we already talked about it, which is the other board committee. So this is something that you have to be engaged in. Like we cannot mention who can do what. This is something under discussion. Maybe I can put it on Sherry and Saud hands, and they can find out with Ayman and who is like who like what and what they like to do. But at the end, what you will do in that meeting, you represent the PIC in that meeting. Like now we can see we have the Mr. Falahat coming here for the PIC. We have the student trustee, we have the trustee. They come to the PIC like representing the trustee, representing the superintendent, representing the student trustee. You will do the same role. You attend another committee representing the PIC. Then you will come back to our meeting, give us a feedback what's going on in other meetings of other committee. So it is like a network. For us, we are sitting here, we know what's going on in another committee. The other committee will understand what's going on in PIC. So I will just add something, if you don't mind, Mr. Falahat and Saud and Sherry. I find there the email that I sent it to you in November 2021, if you remember, regarding all the committee type and the role. So I just find it and I will read it briefly if there is any time. There is any time to read it or?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, we have a few minutes. Yes, go ahead.
I was going to say, can we also send it out, because it's a little bit easier to read it ourselves and see each of those, because I remember that email and it was very specific.
Yeah, so I can send it after the meeting to Ayman and Saud and Sherry, and they can, like they add their own touch and they can send it to the board. Okay, so there will be, I just had it up briefly. There is the IEPEB, which is Inclusive Education, Priorities and Engagement Branch Committee. It is a Ministry Inclusive Education, Priorities and Engagement Branch that communicate 4 times per school year, starting from September, committed to the well-being, health, and safety of all parents and students. They are learning about the valuable experience and feedback through an ongoing dialogue with the PIC chairs and board leads. So this is the IEPEB. Regarding the Ontario PIC Connection, it's a group of all Ontario PIC School Board that met 4 times per school year, a month after the IEPEB, to discuss what's going on in each board, share ideas, and decide what to discuss in the future IEPEB meetings. The HDSP Calendar Committee, to give the parent perspective of the calendar of the next year. It's 1 time per school year. The HDSP EIE Steering Advisory Committee, it's Equity and Inclusive Education Committee, to share the parent perspective on that. They meet 4 times per school year, but through pandemic, it was only twice in the last year. For the Environmental Management Team, which has changed the name nowadays, this is the first year that me as a PIC was involved in that committee. They met the 2nd Tuesday of the month. So I was mistaken. I said the Wednesday and the 4th one. So it is the 2nd Tuesday of the month. And our next meeting, it will be November 8th, which is next Tuesday. So this is from my end. If you have any question, just let me know. Thank you so much for the time.
One of the things as well to know is that all of the PIC reps are part of that Google group that's online, and we have always had access there within those groups, any information that's posted. So a lot of times when schools are sharing, let's say they have booked a speaker to come in and they want to share that information, it can get posted to that group. There are important links that would be there as well. I know that just before the pandemic started, was when we were actually looking, former Superintendent John Pennyfather was responsible for putting together the sort of PIC constitution and bylaws, which there is now a document in place there. So that link will be, and that information will be posted to the site as well. Andrea, I don't know if you would want to bring this forward, but I was looking at some of the older things and remember the Pickmobile? And having the mobile pick group. And I'm thinking now after the pandemic, maybe that is something that we should maybe look at resurrecting. And that was sort of having a group from the steering committee that if there were schools that really needed some help or wanted some in-person direction, that people from the steering committee would travel and go to different schools within their region and do a live presentation, either at a parent council meeting or another set date to help for the parent engagement piece and to bring the information that PIC has and make sure that it was getting out to the schools in the area. Zena, were you there for the Pickmobile too? I can't remember if
actually a few of those presentations we did were really good, and I think actually it's a great idea. And I will say this, the one thing that I did learn about being on this committee and going into Toronto and being around other PIC representatives and PIC like parent involvement committees, however they're done with other boards, is that Halton puts on a great event every year. And I'm so glad that we're going to be bringing that back, because we had people from TDSB asking us how we did this and how we got this event up and running and how we continue to run it. And that's why I'm really looking forward to seeing it run again, because we were looked at in Halton as somebody who's doing something right with our parent involvement. And the Pickmobile is actually a perfect example of that too, is that we would go to different schools and just kind of engage them and just understand that they know that the board is listening to what the parents are saying as well.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so glad that I didn't take that answer myself to try to respond. As you could see, this is why our PIC committee is so amazing and so full of information for our families. Like, you could see the passion and the historical pieces that people bring with them, and the experiences of how to engage parents, of how to engage our community. And I'm so glad that Zaina, Andrea, and Sherry, thank you so much for bringing those pieces back in and sharing that with us, because there's certainly things for me I did not know about the the Pickmobile. So I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit more about that. And so again, for the question that was asked earlier about, what is our responsibilities? Really, it's about, engaging with parents across the system, making, if you have the availability, you have that PIC group, the PIC rep group, you've been seeing all those emails going back and forth. When you are part of this committee, it's part of us as the leadership that we show to answer some of their questions. Maybe if you have time to say, hey, give me a call, I can help you with that, or I can help you find the answer if I don't know it. And so it's part of that is the reach to our system. We have 67,000 plus students in our system. That means they're connected to families out there and guardians. And we want to engage them. We want them to feel that there is a relationship with our schools and with our board, and we welcome that engagement. And just like you feel that level of engagement, we want every parent to feel that. So we continue to do that. I do have a few questions that came forward from the online group. So the questions that came forward, if you don't mind, I need to at least make sure that we do answer them. Question came in from Ravel. And the question was, will we be having a big parent involvement event this coming school year? And of course, with speakers and whatnot. And that is our conference. And so Ravel, yes, I hope you've heard the conversation that we're having about engaging in that conference in the spring. And we're looking at having it at the high school called L.C. McGill in Milton on a Saturday. Dates and the planning committee will get together, the theme, speakers, all of that will be planned as part of the conference committee. That's why we don't want to just make that decision at this time right now. We want the committee to be involved and people to have their voices heard as to what parents want out there. That's number one. Number two question was from Holly. What grades can apply to the summer youth tutoring program? Is this a first serve? How many students will take the program on? So I'm not certain exactly in terms of if she's referring to the tutoring programs that happened in the summer already. The tutoring programs, the Ministry of Education gave school boards money, and this was one of my responsibility to engage. So the money was to close the achievement gaps, because we know some children fell behind a little bit during the pandemic. And so the Ministry of Education gave money what could be used for tutoring. A big part of that was putting in additional teachers that worked with students in our schools. And so we hired teachers that were specifically focused on gap closing and working with students on literacy and numeracy initiatives in the schools. And they continue to do that this whole year. We actually have people on our board put additional money into that as a commitment to try to close those achievement gaps. So that was one way. The other way, a portion of those funds that were given to us by the ministry was to be used to engage community partners to offer tutoring supports. So we had a number of organizations that put their names forward in last summer. And right now we have 6 organizations that are completely filled with students. So one of the organizations is called Halton Black Voices. We invited some of these organizations to pick last year to tell us a little bit about what they're doing in the summer. And so that was very successful. We had a lot of great feedback from parents about these tutoring sessions. So Halton Black Voices this year is running right now sessions. We have the Halton, the Canadian Caribbean Association of Halton. They're running sessions, various sessions across the cities. We have Big Brothers Big Sisters that are running sessions. The YMCA Burlington is also running sessions. We have the Learning Disabilities Association is running sessions as well. And then Park Lane Tutoring is also running sessions. So these are the organizations that are currently engaging, and they're doing incredible work with our children out there. And at some point, I hope that at least maybe one of these organizations can come and tell us some great news stories about some successes that they've had with community, engaging our various racialized communities and engaging our children in learning opportunities. So those were some of the things that happened. And then the other question by Holly was, when will minutes of this meeting be available? This meeting is being recorded, and it will be posted on our PIC website in a few days. So people could search the Parent Involvement Committee website on HDSB, and you will find old recordings of previous meetings. And of course, we're going to post this meeting on there as well. And that's where we're going to end up having our very exciting parent engagement show. I'm so grateful that the student trustees agreed to be part of this project with us. This started, the conversation started with Saud, Sherry last year. We started talking about different ways to engage the community. I reached out to one of the high schools in Burlington that I work with. We engaged some of the students in that school and the teacher to help us. And the student trustees are very excited to be part of the show. As you saw, the level of excitement from them when they came here today. They're going to help narrate some of that, so they'll be part of the team. So myself, the student trustees, at least one of them at a time, and Saad and possibly Shari will be interviewing people to bring this information to across our city. And the student perspective is going to be, I think, the most important one. And we talked about, you could see the level of excitement from our student trustees when we shared with them about how do we bring your voice and the voice of the 67,000 students to our parent engagement committee, but also across our system. And so we hope to have a show in the before we go for holidays, and get that posted by that time. That's kind of our goal, to start the first one, and then things will start to develop after that. But hopefully we'll share some more great news with you on that. And the last question was about the Learning Disabilities Association, and whether the Learning Disabilities Association accepts students from outside of Halton. Well, they do, because they have the Learning Disabilities Association is one of our partners that we partner to offer tutoring, and they invite parents from our board, and we support the funding for that, but they are also partnerships with other boards as well. Okay, so hopefully we answered those questions for people that are online. And is there any other questions from the committee? Okay. Well, thank you very much. I'll hand that back to you, Saad and Shari, to do your closing.
Okay, thank you so much. Sorry, Shari, did you have something?
Well, I know that we said tentatively the next meeting date would be, or the PIC rep meeting would be on the 17th. Do we need to put that to any type of vote, or is that just more of a yes, that's when we're able to do it?
Well, I think our next live stream is in February, right? The next meeting for this is February 9th.
Right.
Yes,
But just to plan the
and
PIC rep
tentatively
meeting.
yeah, that's tentative, and we'll get back to all of the members to confirm that date. We don't have to vote for that. Okay, it's 8:30, and Sherry and I like to run a prompt meeting, so we're scheduled to 8:30. So at this point, we're going to adjourn the meeting. Zena, do we need to call on you? Do we need to pass a motion to adjourn, or we just adjourn?
No, you could just adjourn.
Just
Okay,
adjourn.
okay. All right. So once again, February 9th is the next PIC committee live stream. If anyone has any questions, of course, you can email Superintendent Flahat, and our email addresses are here as well, and we'll try to help as best as we can. Have a great night, and we'll see you all on February.